Hey, there it is.
It's funny, I got this hourglass in Germany like years ago.
How was Germany?
Oh, it's great, man. You could go to the bazaar, you could get stuff like this. And I got my cool hourglass.
Oh, you haven't smashed it yet. You haven't gone back in time.
No, this is it's not that type of hourglass.
All right, let's get started here.
Then you trying to get somebody to get you a new one.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Survivor Now podcast. I am, I guess I should go ahead and say who I am. I am Randy Bruce, and then I am joined by the hourglass holding, the hourglass wielding season 41 castaway. Drop the 4, keep the 1, the first season to introduce the hourglass twist. Abraham, how are you doing tonight, man?
Hey, doing good tonight, man. Hey, another good episode, man. That hourglass is back again, getting people too.
I thought it was let me just put it out there. I thought it was a fantastic merge episode.
Now, season 41, we had a little conversation about this on the side. We're feeling like we're guinea pigs.
Really?
Our hourglass didn't have the same type of intro as season 42 is getting now. You know, there was no, hey, this is going to have ultimate power. There was no Applebee's.
We'll get to the Applebee's. We'll get to the Applebee's.
So this is a little different to see how they actually said, you know what? We saw what happened. Let's change a couple of things for this next season. So I'm going to go ahead and give Jeff them a kudos out for noticing, hey, it didn't go as smoothly, but no, we didn't appreciate being guinea pigs.
Well, let me just get some stuff out of the way right before we get into talking this merge episode. And trust me, we have a ton of stuff to cover and a ton of stuff to talk about today. Respectively about the castaways and the tribes and how the tribe dynamics worked. And like you said, the changes that Jeff and Survivor made to the hourglass twist. But it's been a busy week for us at the Survivor Now podcast. Abraham and I had the chance the other day to go on Speaking Llama.
Speaking Llamas.
They are Alex and Caleb over there doing a great job on that show. So we went on and talked about, basically recapped the entire season of Survivor Australia Blood versus Water and talked about our favorite moments, our least favorite moments, and what we thought about the winner. Abraham, did you have a fun time going on the show?
Hey, it was good hanging out with those guys. We all Texas. You know, we got Dallas covered. We got Austin covered. So it was great just to hang out with them and talk about how Australia's season went and have somebody else give their perspective on the players, the twists, the turns. So I really enjoyed being a part of that podcast.
Definitely go check those guys out, as well as the podcast that we were on. They're really good. I love the work they do over there. And then right before recording this podcast, I got a chance to go talk to the Slaying the Dragon podcast crew, Scott, Kate, and Jack. Jack's name for some reason just left my mind and it threw everything off. But I believe their podcast is going to come out tomorrow. Scott's been on the show before, and these people know what they're talking about Survivor. Even Jack. I love the fact that Jack is a fan. He's not, someone who has always watched the game. So they kind of get his perspective of someone who is kind of new to Survivor. He's covered a couple seasons now, but love all the work that they do. That's Slaying the Dragon podcast. Go check out all of their work. We're making like a nice little podcast community here, Abraham. Us slaying the dragon, Speaking Llama. I like this little community we're making, and I'm excited to do more work with them in the future.
I know, man. It's an opportunity to be out there and really kind of enjoy this season, coming back off of the couple of years that we didn't have Survivor. Now to have a lot of different versions of Survivor with Australia overlapping with US Survivor. Hey, it's a great time.
Great time to be a Survivor fan. And the best thing about all these podcasts is they are all different. Every podcast that we've been on or we featured on, they've all been completely different on how they do their show and everything, which is awesome because it gives everyone a different perspective of how the game is being played. So
Randy, only you have season 41. Drop the 4, keep the 1 guy on. So
that's fair.
Let's keep that real.
Well, let's get into the episode. Sorry if there's any belching. I had a belching alert. I had Mountain Dew, Baja Blast, and Taco Bell right before the podcast. So, if anyone likes Taco Bell out there, it's no Applebee's, but
it's a nice quality meal, but you're right. It's no Applebee's with the volcano mud pie cake at the end.
I can't wait to talk to Abraham about the food. I knew instantly he'd have something to say about the food.
Applebee's.
Too much food. But basically we get a previously on Survivor, which is something that we've seen with the US versions lately, is that we only get kind of this previously on for the big episodes. I'm talking the finale and the merge. We see the Vati tribe come back, and they're basically talking about what just went down with sending Daniel home. Chanel tells Mike that she was the one to vote for him.
What's up with all this honesty on Survivor?
Why
Can I get a little backstabbing?
Why would she tell Mike that? Because it looked like, from my perspective, Mike had no clue, and Chanel's been on the bottom almost this entire time. That was a great chance to maybe throw it onto Hai or Lydia and say, hey, Mike, we need to stick together. Someone voted for you. But no, she comes back to camp and basically just says, yeah, Mike, I was the one who voted for you tonight. I threw a vote on you.
Even when she voted and they showed that Chanel placed that vote on Mike last episode, I was like, great move. Because Mike doesn't know where the vote came from.
No idea, yeah.
Now, once she exposed herself, he was like, oh, I can't trust her now. And that's something that you don't want to be on Survivor. Somebody that they think or perceive they can't trust you. And Chanel, I was like, your game is going great. You're about to go ahead and separate yourself from Daniel. They already voted Daniel out. So now you don't have anything to worry about. And now you came back and wanted to tell Mike, oh, yeah, by the way, that one vote you got, it was me.
Yeah, it just made no sense from her perspective. And Mike, in a very funny way, said, look, I would take a bullet for Hai and Lydia. But if a bullet's coming, I'm probably stepping out of the way for you, Chanel. I'm sorry. You got to love, Mike is so far so entertaining this season.
We're going to see on an episode where Mike and Jonathan really bond on a common ground. And then you'll see how Survivor reacts to people bonded.
Well, we're also going to get into how close Mike and Hai actually are to Lydia as we go on in the show, because that came out of nowhere when we get to the vote. We go to the Ika camp. Tori and Rox are still at edge. Tori believes that Rox has an advantage. She says, Rox, you can trust me. We're in an alliance here. Tell me you just got an advantage. And Rox is like, no, I don't have anything. And Tori's like, yeah, you do. And she doesn't trust Rox at all. She doesn't want anything to do with Rox. I don't understand, Abraham, why Tori just can't put her feelings aside. I understand living out there with people. There's going to be some people that you don't get along with, but this is a great opportunity for Tori to have someone like Rox as a number, and she just almost refuses to work with him.
Look, Drea said, hey, look, Rox said from his own mouth, I'm a straight up guy. And he said, hey, we may have something that's going to help all of us move forward. I don't have anything, but I like the fact that you had Drea and Romeo in the bushes listening to Tori berate Roxworth for not telling her anything.
I forgot about that. Thank you for bringing that up.
And I was like, your game is going to waste. And here's the thing about it is, you have a skill set for talking to people.
You talking Tori, the therapist.
You a therapist. I would figure that you probably would, have a better way to approach that. And Rox, Mike, Jonathan, or some of the most straight up characters on Survivor this season. Once they give you their word is their word. And Rox is playing a regular game. He's saying, hey, look, if I had something, I would tell you. But your other two tribe mates see how you are. And that put a bigger target on Tori's back, which she already had a target on her back anyway. They just made it a bigger target. And I was like, I'm glad that they stuck over there. I'm glad that they was listening. And they're doing some sneaky stuff in Survivor now. They hide behind bushes.
How many times have we seen like Tony and Brad with their spy shacks?
Brad did a whole sprint jog down the beach to his spine. But I mean, that's a part of Survivor now. If you can find a way to find out information, and they're sitting there like, Tori, just let it go. And she just couldn't let it go.
We're going to talk a lot about Tori and Roxroy as this episode goes on today. So that's how kind of the episode started. It started with going to those two tribes. Let's get to the first challenge, which is the same challenge we saw in season 41 with the giant boulders. Where do they get those boulders? I need to go to the boulder store that Survivor is shopping at. And before we get into anything else, I do want to say, Abraham, I always hate this challenge because I think it's an injury waiting to happen.
The ball is heavy.
Yeah, like if it falls on someone, we have a serious problem.
The ball is heavy, and it's not one of those balls you just want to try to climb up, as we saw in the challenge where Drea just couldn't get up the ball. She's exhausted. So yeah, well, any challenge on any part of Survivor, Australia, US, it's injuries waiting to happen.
That's fair. That's
injury proof. They're all. But here, you know what somebody was waiting? I hope I get Jonathan.
Oh, it was basically Jonathan versus the blue team here. But before we get to the challenge, we got to talk about fourth wall breaking Jeff Probst. So he basically looks at the camera and says, hey, so we're going to do the same thing we did last year, but we're going to change it up just a little bit. And he says there's 3 differences. 1, the reward is Applebee's. They've got Applebee's to eat for the merge feast. 2, he's going to tell them whatever person you send away from the tribe send away from camp is going to have a game altering advantage. And then the third thing that he said was, if you want, instead of sending that person away, the winning tribe can send one of their own away for this game changing advantage. Excuse me. So I guess there's a lot to ask here, Abraham. 1, what do you think about Jeff breaking the fourth wall? And 2, what do you think about the changes to this hourglass twist?
First of all, I like that he unpacked it and gave the tribe an option. In season 41, it was a total surprise when Erica came back and she basically changed the entire game around. Because people that win, you win. Now you're saying, okay, I didn't win. So there was some hurt feelings and some mad people on season 41. But here's the thing. Jeff unpacked it and told them exactly what was going to happen. And they did the total opposite. You know what they did? Applebee's. Because Jeff said, look, you're going to have the power to change the game. Or you can eat.
Yeah.
You know, and we're going to talk about it, because I'm like, okay, I would have said, okay, I'm going.
You would have taken Rock's place?
Oh, I'd have took Rock's place and left.
Yeah. I mean,
what's more important, getting something to eat or changing the game?
I don't know. If you have Applebee's, with how much you guys are starving out there, Applebee's is tough to turn down. Not when the other half of the tribe that would lose this challenge, guess what? They didn't get Applebee's. So only half of them was happy. That's fair. It did look good. What would you be the most excited about if you got to eat Applebee's out there? What would you be looking forward to the most? Hey, let me do like Jonathan. I'm eating the chicken wings. I'm just going to put it in my mouth and come out with a bone. It was so funny when they was narrating. Jonathan was like, I'm a big guy and I haven't eaten in days. I eat 20 eggs a day. And I like the shark bowl drink that they had. That's literally what I get to drink when I go to Applebee's. So here's the thing. The longer you are in the game of Survivor, the lower your alcohol tolerance becomes. Oh, yeah. No, they had to be drunk. And that is the worst feeling, because wherever they're at, I hope they're close to the tribe. Hope they're close to wherever they're going to be at. Because you don't want to be out there on the boats. You got a full belly. You rocking. No. It looks good on TV. But the results of it. So you decide you want to eat a chocolate cake for dessert. You've been eating coconuts. I instantly thought, I said the chocolate cake cannot sit well in the stomach whatsoever. Hey, this ain't Australia Survivor. There are no bathrooms. Oh, man. Yeah, no, that's well said. But I will say, basically, if you watch season 41, they do the exact same thing. They bring the tribes in. Jeff says, drop your buffs. Mike goes, so is this a merge? Which kudos to Mike. He was listening. Because Jeff never said it was a merge, and Jeff gives us the old, well, not exactly.
Not quite.
They all draw rocks. They get into 2 teams of 5, and then 2 people get the gray rocks and have to sit out, and their fate is to be decided later. That is Lindsay and Roxroy. Those 2 don't compete in the challenge. And then the teams are Jonathan versus everybody else. No, I wrote down one team here. I didn't write down both of them, but it was basically, see if I can find it here. It was Jonathan, Tori, Marianne, Hi, and Lydia against Romeo, Drea, Mike,
Chanel,
yes, and someone.
Who was that other person? Yeah, I think it's all of them.
No, there would have been one more, but I can't think of it at the
Lizzie?
top of my. Lindsay sat out. Lindsay and Rox.
Not Lindsay.
Tori. Yes.
Tori.
Yep. So they split into those 2 teams, and basically the challenge is same as last year, you get these boulders, you dig them out, you push them over some obstacles, you grab some keys along the way, then you have to go up. You have to climb up the boulder, then climb up the wall, and then you have to do the 75-piece puzzle, which I think is extremely too long on the game of Survivor. If I go do a 75-piece puzzle right now, Abraham, it will take me at least an hour to do.
Look, and if you hear Marianne, when somebody was like, hey, y'all don't have to speed up, but keep a good pace. Marianne was like, okay, I heard you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. She got into it with Jonathan again. But we got to talk about Jonathan in this challenge again. Even Roxroy was over there goo-goo-eyeing over Jonathan. He's insane, look, Abraham.
I mean, you're looking at a challenge where you basically have to push a heavy object over barriers, and he rolls up there. But here's the thing about it is, Mike and Jonathan were doing the same thing. Jonathan just did it better. So when they were helping his castmates get up there, Jonathan was pulling his. Mike was like, just climb up on me. So,
I don't understand when Drea couldn't get up, which I don't put it all on Drea. I know a lot of people look at it, Drea cost him the challenge. Do you understand how hard it's got to be to run up that rock and stuff? Like, I don't put that all on Drea. But what did Mike think was going to happen? He's like, okay, you can't get up grabbing my arms. Let me turn around here and just grab my legs. And then he kicks her in the face.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Mike said, I'm going to give you one before you get there. But here's the thing. You're exhausted. You're just really physically exhausted. And you just need a couple of minutes to try to catch your breath just so you can try again. So Drea was exhausted. So when Mike flipped around and said, hey, okay, climb up my legs. And then he said, Romeo, go back down and help Drea get up, which they should have done the first time. They would have cut so she couldn't get up there. And then Romeo being a little lighter, carrying lighter body weight. Now you climb up and then you get up. Where Jonathan was basically pulling his tribe up.
And then he just jumped up. And then he just jumped up. Yeah.
Jumped up.
It honestly insane. But then we got to also talk about Jonathan and Marianne again. I don't know if a lot of people noticed this, but the blue team did a pretty good job catching up. They got as close as they possibly could with the disadvantage of having Drea take all that time. They were very far behind. Marianne is kind of lackluster on the puzzle. She's like, I got it. Like, we've got plenty of time. And it's visibly clear that Jonathan is once again furious that, he feels like he's carrying them and he doesn't want to lose, obviously. Once at Applebee's, they even get into it. Jonathan says, okay, Marianne, why don't you I can't remember who the other person was, but why don't you let them focus on the puzzle and then you start flipping pieces over? And Marianne's like, thank you, Jonathan. I got it. And she was kind of more lippy to more than just Jonathan there during the puzzle part.
Because when you look at it, when you're working on a puzzle, you see the image of what you want to see. And other people are looking, and it just gets really confusing, to tell you the truth. It happens on every puzzle. People are trying to tell you to do things, and you got a partner sitting right there, and you're trying to get it done. And it's like, Survivor is a great strip away of what your real emotional feelings are, where you'll tell somebody, hey, just back off me. I got this. And they had it. I mean, they had a nice little rhythm going. They could get it. And you have to see part of the puzzle before you can start actually putting the rest together. And that's what they were trying to do. Jonathan has already admitted that he can't do puzzles.
Yeah.
Why are you even talking?
You chiming in? Yeah.
Yeah. You already know you can't do puzzles. So let the puzzle people do it. It's 75 pieces. I think they can do it. And I mean, they had a lot of time. A lot of time.
Yeah.
So, and that puzzle didn't take 15. It didn't take 5 minutes on TV. It probably took about 45 minutes.
Told you it would take me at least an hour right now. No shame in saying that. I'm just not that great at puzzles. Even with my family background, they love puzzles.
So before I went on the show, I practiced puzzles.
Yeah, I would probably have to as well. Yeah.
There's a mathematical equation to puzzles that if
Are
you do it the right,
it?
it's on YouTube. Just look up. And I was like, really? And sure enough, there's a way to do puzzles where if you do it by the equation, it always works out for you.
Well, now I'm gonna have to look that up as soon as I get off.
I think it's on my iPad, and I can do little puzzles where you mix them all up and be like, oh, I can get through it. But I didn't volunteer to do the puzzle the first time, so no.
I would definitely have to test out. Like if I got on the show, definitely would have to practice. But the Orange Tribe did end up winning this. That's Jonathan. No, see, we said Tori was on blue, but she was on the Orange Tribe. So it was Jonathan, Tori, Marianne, High, and Lydia who won. They got the purple buffs. That's what light purple buffs. And then basically they have a decision to make. Who do you want to send, either Lindsay or Roxroy? And I said Lindsay said this, and it wasn't Lindsay, but I hated this reason. Someone said they picked Lindsay, and the reasoning they gave Abraham was, well, because she needs to eat. Yeah, Romeo. We chose Lindsay because she looks like she really needs to eat. You can't use that excuse.
It's almost like they have forgotten everything that Jeff told them beforehand. Mm-hmm. Anybody that was going to be selected would have power over the game. That's all you would need to know. I wouldn't need to know anything else. And we're going to revisit that statement when Rox makes his decision and Tori comes back and says, oh, I did this as a favor to you.
No, you didn't.
Well, no favor. You sent me away for 2 days by myself. That's not really a favor.
I thought they were going to choose Lindsay to go with how they were talking, because they were talking, we need to send someone that we trust. And then they sent Rox out of nowhere, and they were like, we really don't trust Rox that much.
Yeah, but only person that was on Rox tribe was Lindsay. I'm sorry, Tori was the only one that was on that winning group off of Roxroy's tribe. So the rest of y'all didn't have any common sense to say, you know what? Maybe we should send somebody that Jonathan. Hey, let's send Lindsay.
Well, Jonathan said he was that close to switching, because that was the next part of this like new twist with the hourglass is you can basically give up the food and give up your immunity, being with the merge, and takes Rock's place and go to this island for this game altering twist. And Jonathan said during the feast, he was that close. He said he just didn't decide to do it in the end. So you think, Abraham, from what I'm getting from you, someone should have stepped up and said, I'll go.
Yeah, I would have went. I said, no. We don't know what this is going to be. I'm good with not eating. I wasn't eating before anyway. And I'd have went over there and said, hey, I'm going because we want this twist to stay with us. Because any one of them that would have went could have changed the game and said, know what? We won and we're going to stay as winners and call it a day, which would have changed the whole dynamics of what happens next. And he was like, y'all send Roxroy. I was like, what game of Survivor are y'all playing?
Jeff is also going a bit soft here. He gives the losing tribe 1 bag of rice, which I'm like, okay, that's good. They're going to have some rice to eat now. The bag of rice was tiny. It was a puny bag of rice.
Get your scoop. You're not going to enjoy it. He just said, hey, 1 bag of rice. So that means everybody gets like 1 scoop and then it's over. So 30, 45 minutes later, guess what? Where's that coconut at? Let's go back to what we know.
Abraham, you couldn't have been happy with all the food they got yesterday.
They got a feast.
Well,
they got a feast.
You're season 41. You guys got a feast too. There was a merge feast.
There was no Applebee's. There was some sandwiches. There was some cold ham sandwiches. Look, they came out there and told them they had 3 different types of burgers. They had onion rings. They had drinks, chicken wings, and they just gorged themselves on happiness and joy for that moment.
You guys were definitely the guinea pigs on what they were going to change for season 42.
I'm like, season 42 was in country when we were there, but we was getting the short end of the stick on that one. So that was pretty interesting.
Well, let me go through some of these moments here. There's a lot to cover because this is what I loved about the episode and why I think it was such a great merge episode, Abraham. And that is, we got classic Survivor. Props to the editing team. We got probably roughly about 45, 50 minutes of camp life, of people watching sunsets, of people, making these connections and beautiful moments together, to people fishing and just these funny moments. And that's something we don't get a lot in today's Survivor, where classic Survivor, the earlier seasons, that's what really made the show. Is we saw so much of, camp life, people living together. And lately it's been more about idols and challenges and stuff. So what did you think about how this episode was laid out? Because I like seeing them at camp.
Well, the first one I like the fact that Roxroy was out there and he really kind of embraced the fact that he was going to be out there for 2 days by himself, but he found peace with it. And we also got a chance to see some of the Fijian background. And I thought that was great. He climbed up on the top of the mountain. He showed that. And you're right. We don't get to see enough of what's behind the scenes, basically what's going on. Because I didn't know Roxroy had eye problems. And they talked about that. He said, hey, and he had his glasses on. I don't know where he got them glasses from. Rocks, they sell cooler glasses, man. Get those. But he has his glasses on. We got a moment with Romeo and Hyde. They're out there talking. They're embracing. Then you got a moment where you got Jonathan, you got Mike out there. They're talking. They're embracing. And then we go back to classic Survivor, where everybody is strategizing, plotting. They're doing they're scattering when somebody comes up, they're talking, they're trying to get alliances built, because now the ones that are left behind, this is a whole new tribe. So now you're waiting for everyone else to finish the feast, but in the meantime, you're setting up everything. And here's where the culmination for me came at. Now you have the amulet in play, because you got all three of them. Now you have all the everybody said all their phrases, so now you got all the idols in play. Now you got all extra votes in play. But we also gonna see where you got two people that still can't vote.
Yeah, we will get to that. I will say as well for the I'll just go ahead and get it out of the way. We had bad weather last night in Indiana, so I missed one part of the episode because of a tornado warning, and that was the moment where Rox went on exile the first time and he built his shelter and all that beautiful moment. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. I did hear from the Slaying the Dragon podcast. I saw a lot of people on Twitter talking about Rox and his wife and what I did end up hearing what he said, how he said, I can get away from my nagging wife and chill. What did you think of that?
You have to be careful what you say.
It's got to be like an inside joke between them, right? Like he wouldn't say that. Like
he's a stay-at-home dad. I don't. So I don't. I've never met him. I've never talked to Rox. I don't even think Rox is on social media like that. But they pick up everything and basically magnify it 10,000. I heard it. I didn't repeat it. I was like, I know he ain't say that. Because
I don't think it's going to split up any relationships, but he's definitely going to be in the doghouse for a few days. That's what
I mean, you try to keep that you try to make them on a pedestal. I don't care if they don't need to be on a pedestal, but you just don't want the world to know. And he was like, yeah, my nagging wife. He didn't say nothing about the kids.
Oh, he didn't?
No. So I was like, well, Rox, you could have said something about the kids. But I will say this right here. He truly enjoyed the serenity of not having to play the game for a little while. And he had a shelter. He had rice. He made a fire. And I think he embraced it more so where Erica was really seeing like she was out there alone and just trying to make it through those 2 days. Rock seemed like he was having a good time.
He had the hourglass where Jeff brought the hourglass to Erica and said, this is what it is. The hourglass was there the entire time. I think the Survivor crew and Jeff are very lucky that Roxanne just decided to smash it and look for something inside.
So here's the funny part.
That would have messed everything up.
Jeff, why do you pull the boat up with tennis shoes and socks on and still jump in the water?
Scott from the Slaying the Dragon podcast, he says, I'm going to go back and watch it. He says it looks like when Jeff jumped in, he fell and they cut before he falls.
So here's what got me the first time. So I had on flip-flops one time and they can't bring the boats up on the shore. So what they do is they wait for the tide to go out. And then when it comes back in, you're supposed to jump. Problem is, you're pretty much jumping in water that's moving backwards.
Oh, shoot.
So you may lose your footing. So usually we just took our shoes off or whatever. So I'm like, come on, Jeff. Why would you put on socks and tennis shoes just to jump in the water? And we rode on those boats. Those boats you see coming up, those are the boats we also get to jump on and hang out. And then he comes over. I can't remember if Erica had a note when she was with the hourglass, so she could already read what it did. Or did he come to visit her as well?
I think Jeff just brought it in, and then, he visited her. But the thing is, he brought the hourglass, put it down, and said, this is what it is. This time, the hourglass was there once Rock showed up. There was an hourglass immediately. So I said, you're very lucky that he didn't take the mallet that's sitting right there and say, let me look inside and smash it.
Yeah, I think it added a different dimension to the way they played the hourglass seed for season 42, I think was great. For season 41, I'm going to go ahead and say it wasn't, because it wasn't played out the same way. The people make it what it is. So Roxroy and his decision and why he made his decision, that's really what we want to see. What made you make that decision? And it was pretty easy. He did what anybody would do.
That's what I was going to say. I have never hated anything in the game of Survivor. There's been a lot of twists that people didn't like. I didn't have a problem with it. This is the first twist in history that I hate. This, and then the one that Deshaun did, that the name's just out of my head right now, the do or die. Yeah, the do or die. Those are the two that I thought went too far. And I've already done my rant on 2 other podcasts about the hourglass, so I won't do a huge rant here about why I don't like it. But I want to get Abraham's opinion, because he actually played in a season with it. Are you a fan of the hourglass, or are you not a fan?
I'm a fan of how they've made changes to the hourglass and how it factors into the game. I like the fact that Jeff was straight up with everybody. And he said, look, this is a game changer. Whoever you send will change the game. You can't get any more straightforward with that. You don't know if it's an hourglass or not. You don't know what the outcome is. But in the game of Survivor, what's the rule? Anytime I can get an advantage, I'm going to take it. Mm-hmm. And they had all the information up front. Season 41, they had none of the information. Erica came back. She said, I smashed the hourglass. Now you're losers and we're winners. And it changed the game. So I like the way they restructured it. So I would keep it. And I like the part about where you send somebody off for a couple. I don't think it has to be 2 days.
My problem, Abraham, is, and I messaged Erica on Twitter about this when she was talking about when she did the hourglass. My problem and why I don't like this advantage so much is it's a no-brainer. There should be, I think it felt very edited when Rox was like, oh man, there's definitely cons and pros, and he's thinking about it. I said, okay, Survivor told you to kind of put on a show here thinking about it, because there's got to be there's no way anyone's thinking about it. It's either you smash it and get advantage, get immunity yourself, or you don't smash it, and then you have to fight for it.
Let's back up. Let's go back from Roxroy, and let's go back to the geniuses that sent them there.
That's fair.
We would think it was a no-brainer for one of them to be replaced Roxroy, not eat, and take the advantage.
Yeah.
And that's the game of Survivor. Do you take the food or do you take the advantage? They took the food. Mm-hmm. So whatever comes out of the advantage could either help them or hurt them. And I was like, what decision y'all making? Jeff is telling you exactly what's going to happen. And you know what they said? Go on over there, Roxroy. We don't like you anyway.
Do you feel, though, that, like, here's what I said. So I thought of this during the Slaying the Dragon podcast. This is what I would do with the hourglass. If you really want to keep it, because it seems like Jeff loves it. The way he was speaking about it, it seems like he loves this advantage, and he'd like to keep it.
Jeff loaded shot in the dark, too.
That's true. That's probably staying as well. So how about this? They go to the island, right? They have the hourglass. How about you have the chance to reverse the decision? You can earn up to 3 tribal councils of immunity. Or you could just have the next 2 you're immune, or the next 1 you're immune, whatever you want to do. But for however many tribal councils you want to be immune for the next couple of, tribals, you have to take someone who had immunity, actually pick them out in front of their face, like at the next challenge when he has to reveal whether he smashed it or not, and say, I smashed the hourglass. I chose to be immune for the next 2 tribal councils out of the option of 3. And you have to actually point to people and say, like, Jonathan, I'm taking your immunity, so you're not immune. You have to compete in the challenge now. And hi, I'm taking yours. You have to compete now. So since I took your guys' immunities, I'm now safe for the next 2 tribals. Then you actually have to think, do you smash it? Or if you don't smash it, then you're immune for the next tribal, but nothing else changes.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
You got to do something like that where you give them a decision to make.
He did make a decision. He said, you other 6, you are no longer immune, which made him immune for the next tribal council.
Mm-hmm.
So all you're really doing is adding one more to it. Here's the thing about it is there are many plays. I like the way it was played. Could we add another dimension to it? Of course, because you see they changed it from season to season, which is good. At least they was paying attention. At least they was paying attention and realized
I do applaud them for that.
the first time. And they tried something different. But here's the thing about it is that 6 that won had a chance to control the game.
And
you know,
they chose not to.
They wanted Applebee's and the volcano mudslide cake. And that's the thing about it is food more important than controlling the game? Now, we go to season pass and some of the other players, guess what they would have done? They would have took Roxbury place and went and took that advantage. Everybody would have took the advantage. But on this season, they were hungry. So,
well, I will say everyone else hasn't been starving. They've had rice and stuff to live off. So while they've been hungry, they haven't been starving. So that could be the difference between classic players and what they would have done and the newer players. But let's get on to some of these points here, Abraham. We have a lot to talk about based off, because like I said, they showed a lot at camp. So we have a lot of alliances forming and stuff to talk about here. I will start off by saying Tori, while they're enjoying Applebee's, throws everyone from Ika under the bus. She basically says, I want everyone to know I'm a free agent. I want everyone to know that I don't have any allies in this game. And she does not want to work with Ika at all. Is this how were the moves that Tori were making? We'll get to what happened with her a little bit later. Was this a bad move or a good move?
I'd like to go ahead and reach back in time and think if Dan made a good move or a bad move.
Yeah.
Tori, you have a whole tribe. So that means your whole tribe gets to vote against you. You have a whole new tribe that don't know you. You know what I would have did? I would have sat there and said, hey, you know what? We're a good tribe, but there's some cracks in there. And I would have left it at that. She overshared.
Burning the bridge with everyone.
She overshared, and that's going to come back to put a mark. Because you know what? Drell was like, hey, can't trust Tori. And it's like, hey, I'm good with rocks. Well, Drell has a immunity idol. She has an extra vote, and she has an amulet. Who do you want to be aligned with? Roxroy, y'all good to go. Romeo, he's playing his own game. Hyde has his group, which we see that didn't work out too well because Hyde just went different on you this time. But everybody has an alliance with somebody, so they at least have 2 votes. Lindsay and Jonathan are together. Marianne, she's still a free agent of some sort. I don't know why they really keep targeting her. But everybody has somebody. So Tori, you kind of out there by herself, and we're gonna only see that through just sheer luck how she gets saved.
And then some other stuff that happened here. Mike and Drea make a pact to protect each other. They had a nice moment together when they're like, hey, we got to watch each other's backs. They both know they have the idols. We see Mike talk to Marianne later on. So it looks like everyone with the idols are trying to watch each other's back. Hi, Lindsay and Drea do meet up about the amulet advantage. Remember that from the first episode. And they kind of talk about helping each other out. Romeo speaks to, I'm trying to go through everything here because there's a lot. Romeo speaks to Marianne about the smaller people sticking together to get out some of the big dogs like Mike and Jonathan. At one point in this episode, Romeo literally says, Mike is so far up Jonathan's ass that
I know. I was like, you can't even have a bromance anymore like they used to on Survivor.
Yeah, it's like Romeo just it's intimidated or just doesn't want Jonathan in the game just because of his presence and challenges and stuff. And we'll get to that. I don't even think that Jonathan's going to be as good at challenges as some people think. Tori chats with Marianne about her thoughts on Drea. Mike talks to Jonathan about judging books by a cover. This is the beautiful moment you brought up, Abraham. And I do want to stop here and talk to you about this. They talk about how Jonathan's like, there's more to me than just being a big guy. And, you know, I had people when I was younger talk about how I'm a meathead and, you know, kind of And Mike says, yeah, I feel that because you know what? The same thing happened to me. So they kind of have this moment where they talk about the stereotypes that kind of bigger men get put into of just boneheads who all they have is muscle and stuff. And that's just not true. And they have this nice moment, Abraham.
Well, you know what? The one thing I will say, and I wish they would show more of it, is you're bringing people together from different walks of lives, from different parts of the country, but we all share in that same thing and being on Survivor. And then you find a common ground somewhere. Now, Mike is a straight up guy, retired firefighter. Jonathan, I forgot I forgot what he does on his bio. But again, they find a common ground. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's the things you want to enjoy, because here's the thing about it is you're with them 24/7. You want to talk to somebody that's relatable, where you don't kind of have to, I think Romeo says it, where in tribal, where some people won't come up and talk to you. Well, sometimes you just don't know what to talk about. Y'all don't have a common ground. And Dre corrects him and say, sometimes you got to go up and talk to them. And that's the thing in Survivor. Is somebody telling you the truth, or they just trying to get more games play? And those guys had a great moment where, hey, they had a common ground. You know, the different thing in what's name, Romeo and them had one.
Romeo and High, yes.
High, because I guess Romeo came out as being gay later in life, where High was more confident and came out earlier.
Well, it kind of sounded like Romeo, and you know, this is part of the game as well. And finding out who people are, we all thought, you know, Romeo was outed to everyone and all this, and Romeo said that's just not the case. He's very worried about when this airs, you know, if some people judge him and don't want to talk to him. And so you have this beautiful moment of High kind of telling him, look, I know what you're going through. You're going to get through it.
Yeah, and they capture those moments on camera and the world sees them. But they're going to probably be friends long after this show is over, just because of the bond that you create when you come on the show, which is a great thing. I think it's a great thing. What else did we had? We had that one. We had that one. What was the other one? There was another one.
I'm sure we'll get to it.
It was I do like the play of Marianne. I do like her play. She never committed to anybody, and her strategy was to listen to everybody. So everybody that wanted to talk to her about something, she was like, hey, tell me what your plan is. And she never kind of divulged her plan to anybody. I said, you know what? You don't know half of the tribe. Get to know them first. But her tribe is already kind of, like Jonathan says, for no particular reason, I'm throwing Marianne's name out there.
Well, I kind of like what Jonathan did there. And we'll get to that as well. I do want to say Mike said here when he was talking to Jonathan, maybe the people who are physically stronger finally win this game. And that's a quote. We talked about that because Scott, who I talked to earlier, he said, you know, there has been physical players who have won the game in the past. You know, the most recent being Mike Holloway was a physical player who won the game. But I like this statement, Abraham, because especially in later seasons, I think of Joe's, I think of Malcolm's, I think of Aussies, people who probably should have won the game and were playing a great game, but because they're good at challenges, just get voted off like that. And I think that's what Mike kind of meant. It'd be nice if one of those players who are good at challenges can finally make it to the end and win the game.
What did Nasir say? I'd have took him along with me, but I'd have voted Abraham out. I said, oh, God, dog, I didn't know that. I mean, here's the thing. Anything in Survivor is what you use to get somebody voted out. So if you don't want to sit next to them because they're great in challenges, we've already painted a picture that you got to have some type of resume in front of the jury. You're voting them out. And that's the thing about Survivor, man. It could go either way. I think the best Survivor with a group that I've ever seen was Coach. Where that group stuck together pretty much until the end. And Kim Spratling when they had the female all alliance.
That was a good one, yeah.
Yeah. And they all said, hey, we're going to stick together no matter what. And that's the thing about it is you don't know these folks and you're getting to know them, and you got to formulate opinions, you got to formulate bonds to say, do I trust you enough that Mike and Jonathan, we're going to stay together and be 2 votes? And then we're going to say, okay, who else can we bring in? Because you need at least 4. There's 12 of them left. You need at
12
least 4.
people. Yep. 4 to have a good group. Yeah. Just some funny moments here as well. Jonathan catches a crab and a squid. He's actually catching a lot of fish too. Everyone is impressed by, I mean, how much food Jonathan is bringing back. I bet Abraham, I bet you would have loved to have a Jonathan on your tribe.
He got a no, he got a shell. Someone said there's a thing in the shell, the oyster,
Yes,
the clam. And I didn't think clams were out there, to tell you the truth. But he went out there and found a clam out there, and he's
finding everything. He's just like, oh look, there's that. I'm gonna go catch it.
Yeah, so he's been a great provider, and Nasir played that role for his tribe when he was on the show. It's the thing about it is, if somebody's feeding you, you got a little more thing. Hey, look, let's not get rid of them right. I don't understand.
Moment. I would take him to the end. I was talking about that earlier. If it's between voting Jonathan and Marianne, I want to eat. I'll keep Jonathan in the game, and I'll just beat him final 3. I'm not keeping Marianne over Jonathan, who's feeding me.
Look, Survivor is the pettiest game ever. It does not take much to sway somebody to go against you. Look at Mike already says who he's voting for. And really, if you look back on it, who's it? Sheree? Not Sheree. That was another Survivor.
I'm terrible. Yeah.
And that's the only thing really happened. Her and Dan had that little beef where Dan threw her under the bus. But here's the thing about it is she really hasn't done anything to deserve to be voted out. She hasn't been bad in challenges. She hasn't really said anybody.
Who are you talking about?
Start with a C.
Chanel.
Chanel. Yes. Chanel really hasn't done anything to warrant being voted out or targeted. But she made that fatal mistake and she told Mike she threw his name out there. So Mike said he can't trust her. So Mike is not your ally anymore. And now you got Drea and her group saying, hey, don't trust her because who came to them and said, was it Hyde? Hyde said you can't trust her.
So the thing is, we get this 8-person alliance, and that's something interesting because we haven't seen a super big alliance in forever. You know, we've been used to these voting blocks. This 8-person alliance comes together, and I'm sorry, apologies everyone listening. I didn't write down everyone who was in it, but it's basically, you know, the main people. Like Drea has Rox, and then you have High who has Lydia and Mike, and then you had Jonathan who has Lindsay and Omar, and they basically all throw someone out under the tribe. So Drea and the Ika group say Tori is someone you cannot trust. We've played with her this entire game. She's untrustworthy, yada yada. And then High throws out Chanel as someone you got to watch out for. You can't trust her. She'll lie to your face and she's good at it. And then that's when Jonathan just throws out, well, if we're throwing people out, our next to go was Marianne. But he was smart, Abraham, to say, look, we're not voting Marianne out because she's not trustworthy or anything. It was just if we were to send someone home, it was going to be Marianne, which is a smart move because he's kind of offering her up as a sacrifice here. Like if you guys are going to throw someone under the bus, I guess I will too. But Marianne is also someone that we could trust for a number. I'm just saying that because that would have been the next person to go.
And Lindsay was she's running roadblock when Jonathan Names comes up as a possible vote. And you know what? They didn't throw Marianne under the bus, which I didn't understand this at all. Marianne has an immunity idol. It doesn't make a difference if you use her name. I like the way Jonathan did it. She got an extra vote and she has an immunity idol. Jonathan and Lindsay, y'all have nothing. So really the second person was going to be the person to get voted out in that particular scenario. But it was a good move by Jonathan. I like that one.
Let's loop back to Chanel here. She had a couple bad moves here. I already talked about the move where she told Mike she was the one who voted for him. Another move here is when Omar learns he won't have a vote. And he doesn't learn that from Chanel. He finds out from, I believe it was Drea, but he finds out from someone else that Chanel doesn't have a vote. So that means he doesn't have a vote. At this moment, Omar wants Chanel gone because she did not come up to him and tell him, hey, I don't have a vote. Do you? And that could have been a pairing that worked together, Abraham. And Chanel just doesn't seem like she's willing to share a lot with people.
I'm going to give Omar credit for this episode. Because he is the true mastermind. He was the star.
Yeah.
Nobody else gets any credit, but Roxroy gets it for being on the island for 2 days by itself, followed closely by Omar, how he mastermind the destruction of one of the players that made it to the merge. I'm like, it was a beautiful thing to see how he did it.
He was the one who led the vote. And basically the names here that are up, the majority alliance has decided it's going to be Tori, Chanel, or Marianne. Spoiler alert, it's not going to be either of them or any of them. We also get an awkward moment here where Chanel walks in on the 8-person alliance. Some of the members of that were talking strategy. Chanel walks up not once, but twice. And both moments were awkward. And the second moment, it could have been the way they edited it, but it just looked like she walked up. Everyone's like, oh, here comes Chanel. Talk about something else. She walks up. They stand there awkwardly. They like all stop talking. And then Jonathan's like, all right, I'm going to go catch some fish if anyone wants to come. And everyone other than Chanel was like, yeah, we'll come with you. We'll come. We'll come over there with you. It was so awkward, Abraham. And it was probably edited. But if it wasn't, you have to do a better job here. I said, like, how hard is it to talk about something? If someone walked up, if we're talking, Abraham, and someone walks up that we don't want to hear our conversation, I could probably talk to you about some turtle that I saw in the water for like 40, 45 minutes.
If Chanel didn't get some feeling that something was wrong or she was on the chopping block, she wasn't paying attention because either you're right, they had great editing because every time she walked up, they were gone. And I was like, and here's the thing, Drea says on the second time, we have to stay here and talk so it doesn't look like we're talking about her. And it looks like she walks up. Next thing you know, they're scattering again. I'm going to say they had some great editing on that to show that, hey, they just left because that was funny. So Chanel feels some kind of way now because nobody wants to really talk to her about strategy, which now you got to realize you're on the bottom. But she's still not the one being targeted.
No, not really. And I mean, it was a tough week for Chanel in general. We also got a funny clip where she started falling back on the rocks, and it was like a slow fall. They had to leave that one in there, didn't they? I would have been mad. I would have been like, you couldn't take that out.
Them rocks are deadly, guy. we was out on them rocks. We was like, this is deadly as that thing. And it got to the point where they was like, hey, could y'all kind of stay away from the rocks?
Last thing that I have in terms of all of this talk, like I said, there was a lot of tribe talk here. Andrea does tell her 8-person alliance about her extra vote to establish some trust in there. And that was
not about the amulet.
Exactly. She didn't mention the idol or the amulet, although some people already know she has the idol.
And I mean, that gives them a little trust. I'm gonna tell you a little bit. Here's a little bit of trust. And she says Rockroy is hers. That's her alliance. So he's pretty much in the clear. Also, he also flipped the script and did the turnaround and made everybody safe that was in his alliance, which was the best move ever. Why would you protect Tori and the other ones? You don't know him. So he
well, you know Tori, but you know Tori, but you don't want to know Tori.
You want to vote her out anyway. And only reason after all of this and everybody's getting ready to vote that they don't vote Tori the first vote after the merge is because she won immunity.
And that's a great segue into what we're getting to next. We don't need to talk anymore about the hourglass, but that's what happened next. They go to Exile Island. I will say I thought it was hilarious when Jeff started talking to Rox, and Rox was like, Jeff, I might have to interrupt you in the middle of your conversation because I got to take
my rice off.
Got to take the rice off the fire, which we didn't get. I was really hoping because Jeff would have been so mad. He cares so much about delivering that explanation of this twist. Rox will change the game. Could you imagine if he was explaining that and then in the middle, Rox goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. I got to move my rice off." Jeff would have been so mad.
Rox had already poured some coconut juice in there too, man, and his rice. He was like, "No, I got to get this rice. You don't want your rice to burn." So I thought that was funny too. I was like, "Okay, Rox, at least you let him know ahead of time that hey, I ain't gonna let my rice burn because you're not gonna give me any more food. So I'm gonna make sure I take this." That was one of those little diamonds right in there.
We get to the immunity challenge, which is a challenge we see every year. At this point, it's clear that this is going to be a challenge that we see every season, it seems like. And that's where you have to spell a word on a kind of square platform and then slowly walk back where you hold a rope, trying not to knock that tower over. You have to spell immunity. But we get back and Rox tells everyone Yeah, I smashed the hourglass, which isn't shocking at all. To change the fate, so everyone who won the merge challenge now has to compete for immunity, and everyone who lost it is now safe. This did not go over well with Tori, who called Rox out and did not approve of what he did. Terrible move by Tori here.
She just dug a deeper hole because she was basically saying, Rox, I did you a favor. I don't really see sending me away for 2 days by myself with no food. I don't really know if that's a favor. And here's the thing about it is, I'm gonna go back to it again. Jeff told everybody, look, you're gonna have power in the game. You already got a bad relationship with Rox. You already had an argument with him. So why would you even think he was gonna help you when everybody else that was lost was on the tribe that he was just came off of? His alliance was always with Dre and the other guys.
My mouth would have got the best of me there because the moment she looked me in the eye and said, "We were sending you there to help you," I would have said, "Tori, that's bullshit, and you know it." Like, no, you did not send me there. No, you don't send people to get an advantage in the game to help them 9 times out of 10. You're right. She dug a bigger hole for herself there. She didn't need to be so mad about it because players sometimes, a lot of times, don't think, they don't put themselves in their shoes. Do we think if Tori was in Rock's position that she wouldn't have smashed the hourglass?
Tori had already set the motion that she was on it. She'd already jumped ship already.
Yeah.
She had already jumped ship already, and she didn't want anything to do with her tribe because she knew she was at the bottom. She knew if they'd have lost another one, she was going to be the boat. So at that point, she didn't care. Because think about it.
I don't know why she was so mad at Rox, because if she went to the Exile Island, she would have smashed it too. So why is she mad about it?
Nobody else said anything but except the person. And then you saw when they cut away to Mike, and Mike was like, "What are you saying? What are you talking about? You're just digging a hole for yourself." Because they've already said Tori got to go. So here's the thing about it is Tori already painted. She would have been the very first person to go at the merge.
But I will just say before we get to the challenge, I love the necklace. So no more of the snake. I love the necklace. Do you like it, Abraham?
First of all, way better than giving the good part to one tribe and the bad part to the other. Like, thanks for coming in second. Here's the mount. Great necklace. I don't know who did it. Great individual immunity necklace. Love it.
Shout out to the art department on that one. And then we see Jonathan. We get some funny moments here where Jonathan keeps dropping. It was tough to watch, but you could tell him and Lydia when they dropped a second time. Lydia especially was done. She just threw her hands in the air and she's just done. And Jonathan too, when he dropped, he had the clear lead. Jonathan was the clear leader, dropped, and you just heard a lot of cussing out of Jonathan, a lot of beep.
I mean, because you're competing against something that's really about being very slow and methodical. That whole particular challenge is just being slow and methodical and not trying to rush it. And because if you look at it, Lydia pretty much kept the same pace. And if Marianne wasn't trying to spell the word in the background and then put it up there, Marianne would have won. But Marianne, and then she dropped it. So everybody dropped it.
Did you hear about the eyes situation?
No, who had that?
So some people on Twitter say Tori shouldn't have won because if you look at the Survivor 42 logo, the eye, it's kind of weird. The bottom of the eye is shorter than the top of the eye. So it kind of is larger at the top and then goes down and gets shorter. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see the logo later. But her eye at the end of immunity, so the second eye in that word, was upside down. So some people felt like she shouldn't have won immunity. I'm just telling you guys right now, listening to the podcast, if Jeff would have said no because of that, I would have had an issue.
Yeah. First of all, let's go back to basic grammar. An eye is an eye. Upside down or right side up is the same. If you put it as a regular letter, it's a regular without a dot on the top.
Yeah.
But an L that's capitalized, okay, yeah. But an L that's lowercase, guess what? Looks the same. So I mean, come on. Let's
people were actually mad. People were actually mad about this, Abraham. They said Tori shouldn't have won immunity.
What's this Twitter site so I can go in and be like, come on now.
I'll send you the link later. But what now, Abraham? Because as you've stated, Tori wins, and that was the target. Now you can't vote Tori. sorry about that. You can't vote Chanel because she's safe now.
Oh,
And,
yep.
And who is the other one? You can vote Marianne. So that's the third option. You can't vote Chanel. You can't vote Tori. And those were the two options. And Marianne's kind of the name that gets thrown out. Real quick, though, I will say, once they got back from the challenge, Romeo throws out voting Jonathan. He wants to get the big guy out of the game. He's disgusted by them. Marianne's name gets thrown out by Lindsay. And then I also said, did everyone just forget the 8-person alliance? Because it seemed like everyone was talking to everyone, and this 8 majority alliance really didn't come together to chat amongst the group. It just seemed like everyone was talking to random people.
Well, here's the thing about Lindsay was running defense for Jonathan.
Yeah.
That's what Lindsay, she didn't want Jonathan to get voted out, so she had to run defense. Marianne, to me, was not a good choice because, one, Marianne still had immunity out. So why would you pick her? So really, you're kind of saying, if we can't convince Marianne not to play her immunity, who's going to be second? Which put Jonathan right back in the crosshairs again. And Romeo was really pushing, let's get Jonathan.
Well, and then this is where Omar, player of the episode, really shined, because Omar hears Marianne and he's kind of, what are we doing? Like, he's like, I need to tell everyone that, he's trying to get the Taku tribe back together here. Why are we voting Marianne? That's a number for us. So Omar just says, okay, we're not voting how I want to vote, so I'm going to make us vote how I want to vote. And he starts throwing out the name Lydia, goes to everyone and says, we should vote Lydia. And he even goes to Hi Abraham. And at this point, I thought, this is where we've seen this before. I seriously thought Hi is going to get mad. This is going to come back. Omar, you're going to get voted out. But Hi didn't want to do it. But he didn't even throw it back at Omar. He didn't go, okay, Omar's throwing my ally under the bus. We need to get Omar out. He was just like, I need to put this on someone else. So he starts going and lobbying for someone else. I can't remember who he was saying to vote for. But what did you think about Omar scrambling here and kind of putting this all together?
Omar put together a great blind side. But you're right. He went to Hyde and said, hey, Hyde, Lydia's the vote. And here's the thing about it is, Hyde had already told everybody that we went to Rocks. That's how much loyalty I got with Lydia. So why would you want to vote on one person that you could count on out? But as you see, he went away with, it was just a masterfully artful way to get everybody to say, okay, we don't want to vote Marianne. Here's who we want to vote out. And it worked. Well, you know how many times people create stuff in Survivor that never works?
Going to Tribal, it was either between Lindsay. I think that's who Hai was trying to get the vote on. I can't remember. It's between Lindsay, Lydia, or Marianne. Who did you think going to Tribal Council? Who did you think was where they were going to go here?
I thought it was going to go with Marianne. And I thought Marianne was going to play because somebody told Marianne to play her idol.
Omar also. He was the one who told Marianne. He said, your name's being thrown out. Marianne obviously was not happy about it, freaked out. Why is my name being thrown out? And Omar literally told Marianne, don't freak out because you're going to mess this up for yourself. And Marianne's like, yeah, you're right. He said, let me do my talking, but I'll just say, Omar literally told her, play your idol tonight, because if I can't get the numbers, you are going home. So go ahead and play your idol. He said
he would tell her. He said, I'll tell you if you have to play it.
Yes, that's right.
So, and here's the thing about it is, because it was a masterful play because you really had somebody out there that nobody really felt bad about voting out.
Yeah.
Because she was on the chopping block before with Mike and them. So Chanel said, hey, there was no problem. So really Hyde was her only vote anyway. So everybody else was like, okay, Lydia, let's get her out of here.
Chanel is very lucky that Roxroy smashed that hourglass, or it either would have been her or Tori going home today. And if Tori didn't win the immunity necklace, it would have been Tori.
Yeah. All you got to do is survive to the next day. All you got to do is get past that tribal council and you can have life in the game again. I guarantee when we see the next episode, Chanel will not be on the chopping block.
I don't feel great about my winner pick. There were some cool moments here at Tribal Council.
Your winner pick is going down.
Yeah. Jonathan, and I quote, "We love you, Mr. Jeff," just threw that out there. I thought that was kind of funny from him. They're stating how there's really no tribe alliances, and this is something that we've seen too. Going into the merge, it really wasn't a 4-4-4 split, Abraham, like it could have been. It was kind of everyone scrambling all over the place.
Yeah, because 2 votes, I was like, what are these? There were 2 votes that came in. I was like, I don't understand those 2 votes. It's almost like nobody talked to him.
Yeah.
And I think they were on Jonathan. 2
It
votes that you put on Jonathan was like, okay, who didn't talk to who? And I think it was Romeo and someone else put the 2 votes on Jonathan.
Well, Lindsay and Chanel were the ones who voted together. I thought they were the ones who put it on Jonathan. I know it was either Jonathan or Mike they put the votes on.
Yeah, so Mike only got 1 vote, which I was like, where did that come from?
Or no, Mike was immune. It couldn't have been Mike.
Oh, who was so Jonathan got 2 votes. Marianne got 2 votes. I'm trying to figure out who voted for Marianne, but I couldn't understand. Okay. And then every other vote went to Lydia.
Oh, and well, except for Roxroy voted Lindsay.
Roxroy just want to be different. He might have voted for her because she to go eat.
We get Romeo and Drea. They say they can tell who's lying, they said we're really good at telling who's lying. Why would you say that? Why would you make it make yourself to be bigger than you actually are, if you know what I'm saying?
Look, for all future Survivor players, here's Jeff's MO to get you in some type of conflict at Tribal Council. Drea and Marianne, y'all fell into it hook, line, and sinker.
They did not. They had a big disagreement, which was very awkward. Like, why are you guys arguing over here?
Because Jeff started that argument, and she was like, well, we on the same, and I understood what both of them were saying. She was like, well, at least on the same page. Drea was like, no, we're not. And I was like, what is the argument about? Y'all just have different perceptions of things. And here's the thing about it is, Jeff is the master of arguments. He'll get arguments in a minute.
I think this can kind of stem from Drea not really liking Marianne as well, because 2 completely different people. And we already know that Marianne can get on some people's nerves. She would get on my nerves, and that's saying a lot. I love her, but she's very loud.
But Marianne told you in her thing, I like to just tell you, other people have things they're working on out here as well. So to me, she was in that particular tribal council, not the whole stuff before, because she was out there. But here's the thing about it is, that was probably the most relaxed Marianne presented anything since she started the game.
Yeah, I can see why Jeff loves her. I can see exactly why he casted her and wanted her on the show.
I texted her and was like, hey, man, you always make me laugh on when you do your stuff. And here's the thing about it. Drea was like, here's my thinking. And I was like, okay, we all got 2 different thinking. And Marianne was like, hey, but there's a common ground. She was like, I ain't trying to hear none of that. And I was like, see, Jeff, all you do is start stuff. And he don't sit back and say nothing.
We get some funny moments here too. Jeff talks about where, his upbringing and where he was in life and all that. What was it? Was it Wichita?
I was like, oh, Jeff is sharing? Oh, that's good.
I actually missed that part. I didn't hear it. I guess I was on my phone or something, because sometimes I don't like tribal council. It kind of bores me. But I missed that part.
He grew up in Seattle or something, not Seattle, somewhere in the north, and he moved somewhere else. And he was talking about, getting reacclimated. Oh, changing who he was in order to be able to facilitate this new location. Because I think Daniel or someone was telling, hey, and again, tribal council is also an expression of who you are and things that you learned about yourself while you're out there at that time. And you kind of just share that information. And I was like, but sometimes I'll be like, man, tribal ain't over yet. We do have
to shout out the beetle that was pointed out that just rested on Roxroy, and Roxroy took it like a champ.
You say you're thinking the same beetle that attacked Rox was the same one that attacked
Tiffany.
Tiffany.
That beetle likes it. Screen time. I'll say that.
Hey, look, you can't see it, but there's a lot of people up there laughing about them bugs. You don't see them right there.
Marianne didn't want anything to do with it, and if that was me, Abraham, and that giant thing landed on me, I'd be screaming.
Yeah, and the camera crew was sitting right there in front of you, just laughing, killing themselves, laughing at people. It's funny, man. It's always a bug somewhere flying around there because you're in the jungle. Even though they got the set that's look like the one behind you, you're still in the middle of the jungle. It's like, and the ocean's right there.
The actual jungle, yes.
Yeah. So never sit there and relax, because whatever comes can come. Snake can crawl through, rat can run through. You be like, ooh, this is really Survivor.
To end the show, so Lydia does end up getting voted off here. The majority of votes go to her. Marianne chooses not to play her idols, so that makes you think that Omar got to her and told her, hey, I have the voting numbers. You're fine. You don't have to play it, because she looks confident in not playing it. Lydia goes, and the big talking point here is Hai, who we thought was close with Lydia and would not vote Lydia, wrote down her name. So now it makes you wonder, there had to be something that we didn't see. And some people pointed out, I don't know if it was Rob from Rob Has a Podcast or whatnot. Someone pointed out that Omar's timing was great this episode. Like, he possibly went and told Hai, I want to vote Lydia at the last possible moment. So Hai didn't have the time to get the numbers to save Lydia.
And that it is, man, because there are a lot of other things that go on in between getting ready to go to tribal that may pull somebody away or do something different. And then people. You think one thing during the early part of the day, and next thing in the afternoon, you're thinking a different way. And that's just, it's Survivor, man. It's unpredictable until you start voting. And then it's like, okay, now you like, because if it was a unanimous vote, we would have saw everybody voted for the same person.
Yeah.
But we saw people that only voted for, 2 people voted for Jonathan. So where were you at with your conversations with everybody else? 2 people voted for Marianne. So that's 4 votes where were you at on this vote? Who did you not talk to?
You might have been right. Romeo was one of the people who voted Jonathan.
Yeah. So are you in an alliance? Do you have a group?
Which we thought Romeo was with Drea and possibly the 8-person alliance. And Romeo now seems like it looked like him and Drea were a pair. And now Romeo seems like he's on his own mission to get out the big boys. Well,
Romeo says himself, I want to get the power back. When they flipped it over and he had immunity, he was like, I want my power back. Okay, Romeo, you a little early in the group of 12 to try to get some power right now. I probably want to slow it down a little bit and say, okay, let's get a few other people out.
What did you think about, before we move on to the last question that I kind of have for us here, what did you think about Lydia's game? I know a lot of people loved her, especially her social media presence. I didn't really think she did too much. I think she was she was with Hai during the tribes, but I just didn't see a lot from Lydia here this season to be impressed.
I'm saying sometimes it comes down to the editing. Because we know when Survivor first started, we didn't see Lindsay at all. We were like, she ran for the amulet, and then we didn't really see her for 2 or 3 episodes. So it's just a matter, did she do anything to say, hey, look, she was going to be a threat in the game? I didn't really see anything. Because she went on the thing with Roxroy. She really didn't say anything. They both was pretty much stonewalling each other. She got saved by Hyde. So you saw her because she got saved, not because she did anything. So, sometimes it's just time. You just don't get enough time to say your story or give somebody a good perspective of you. I'm not going to say that she couldn't have been a threat in the game. We just didn't see anything that spoke to that.
So I will say, before I finally ask this question, I think I forgot to say it earlier. I don't think Jonathan's going to be as good in challenges post-merge as people think, because we know Jonathan can't do puzzles. And he can do like physical stuff, but there's a lot of puzzles, which he can't do. There's going to be a lot of balancing. I don't know how good he is at balancing. And then there's going to be challenges that just really torque the body. And we know big guys usually struggle at those types of challenges. So I don't know, Abraham, if Jonathan is really going to be that challenge threat that everyone thinks he's going to be.
I think he can still be a provider for the camp. I think it's like, even in Australia Survivor, it is too early to worry about voting Jonathan out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too early. If you already know that you can get him on everything else, like the puzzles, endurance, he's going to fatigue, why vote him out now? Just hold on. Okay.
I'd love to see Jonathan on Australian Survivor.
Him and Mark? Yeah, I'd love to see that too.
Ooh,
him, Mark, me, Nasir, Danny, Deshaun.
A challenge B season. I will say too,
Brad.
I think if he can get together with Mike and Hai, because it looks like Mike and Hai have, and actually like more than Hai had with Lydia. It seems like that could be a good core, Mike and Hai. And then they both love Jonathan. Hai even said during the episode, I have no interest in voting Jonathan out. I want to keep a challenge beast in the game and everything because I actually think I'm kind of a challenge beast. So if, if those three can work together, Abraham, that's a group that could go far.
It's funny. I mean, I think again here it's always so Survivor goes right, left, center, middle. You just never know where it's going. If I was Mike, I would align myself with Jonathan, Hyde, Drea, and Roxroy. Now we already know Mike already has immunity, so he doesn't really have to do a lot, but make sure he times it to play it right. So right now we have a lot of different things that are available to be played. Amulet, immunity idols, extra votes, all that gonna pretty much come to head because they're gonna be like, okay, we got enough stuff to get people out. Now the question is, next week, who actually is gonna go home? That's the question.
There's a lot of names that get thrown out in the preview for next week's episode.
Top on the list.
Tori and Chanel, both of them are on top of the list.
I think Tori's at more of a top than Chanel is. If I was going to vote somebody out based on looking at how they did it this time, I said unless Tori pulls a trick, she's going to be next going home next week.
Which means it'll be the opposite of what Abraham said, just because that's how Survivor works. Abraham, the last question I have here, and I'm going to steal this from the Slaying the Dragon podcast. We talked about this too. We picked our winners. All of our winner picks are still in the game, right? Yes, my original was Chanel, who's not looking great. Yours original was Lindsay, and she could still win. But now that we're at the merge, who do you want to win, and who do you think is going to win?
Oh, that's a good one.
I'll go ahead. I'll give you just a couple seconds to think about it. I'll tell you the same answers I said on the other podcast. I think Omar is going to win. And I've been saying this for a few weeks now. I think Omar is in a really good position, and I could see him winning this game based off the edit he's getting. I want Mike to win. You don't see older, nice, kind of older men go on and win the game too often.
That's why I grew a beard, so I could go back and play as an old guy.
I would love to see. He's such a great. He's an amazing human being. I would love to talk and meet Mike. I would love to see him win the game. But Omar is my pick from the merge on. I could see Omar winning.
Okay, who I think would win? I like Drea.
You think Drea is still in the best position?
I think if Drea can maneuver through this, I think she can win. Who I would like to win? Marianne.
Really? You want Marianne to win?
Marianne enjoyed the game of Survivor. She enjoyed
would freak out
every moment of it. And here's the thing about it is, if you go back and look at this episode, Marianne knows how to play the game of Survivor. We're kind of getting overshadowed because she always is talking and always in the edit she's loud or she's funny. But if you go back and look at this episode here and listen to how she's plotting her game out, I think now that they've merged, watch out for Marianne. I would like to see Drea win, but go back and just listen to the episode and you'll be like, okay, now go back to Tribal Council and look at how articulate she is and what she's saying. She knows how to play the game of Survivor. So that's who I think is, I would like to see Drea win, but I think Marianne's going to win.
I thought you would say you want to see Jonathan win this thing.
I think eventually Jonathan's going to run into a roadblock.
Yeah.
And I still think he's going to go far. I just think he has to be more than somebody that wins a challenge to win Survivor.
Overall, do you think this was a good merge episode? Because I loved it. I loved everything about it. This is one of the best merge episodes I've seen, if not in Survivor, history, because that's going way, way back. It's definitely one of the best merge episodes I've seen in a while. So did you like this merge episode?
I'm a little impartial because I knew how my cast members of 41 was treated, and I'm protesting. I'm silently protesting how they did 41's merge versus 42's merge. That being said, I really like the way everything played out because you didn't know what was going to happen, but you had all the information. and you still didn't know what was going to happen. But also like the moments that they got captured in the merge between Hyde and Romeo, between Jonathan and Mike, between Rocks, seeing Rockstar on the island, because you had a chance to see some of the people. Mm-hmm. So all that makes it. Then you go back and then you start being scandalous and backstabbing. So to me, it covered every aspect of Survivor. So I enjoyed it. I'm still a little upset about the Applebees.
Yeah, well, we got to get Abraham some Applebees next time he plays the game.
We got to get Roxroy, man. I got to see what Roxroy meant about that wife thing. We got to find it.
Well, here's a fun question actually to wrap us completely up. If you were out there starving on the island, which you have experience with, and you could pick one realistic food restaurant for them to bring out to the island, what would you want them to bring out?
Oh, that's a good one, man. That's a good one.
Yeah. What is one thing that if they said this is the reward, you'll freak out and go crazy over?
Oh man, let's go to Wingstops, man.
Oh, Wingstops.
Let's go to Wingstop, man, because that's protein. Here's the thing. I've looked at Survivor plenty of years in a row, and I always thought the same thing when they always brought out sweets. You haven't eaten anything related. You're basically drinking coconut milk, which is a diuretic. You're eating coconut and you're eating limited amount of crabs and maybe seafood. And they bring out cookies, donuts. The sugar rush alone is gonna kill you. So
top that with alcohol that they always give you when you are gonna be super drunk. I would say Pizza Hut. I'd want some Pizza Hut while being out there.
Oh, yeah, you got the bread. Look, I'm thinking about the bread because you can't take anything with you. So pizza will be good, but I'm going Wingstop, man, because you can put a bone in your pocket. Who stole the candy? Somebody stole the candy.
I can't remember. My memory is terrible, but I know what you're talking about.
And buried the candy.
We've seen people, they shut it down, but on the old seasons, they would go to rewards and they would stuff stuff in their pockets and say, we're going to bring this back. And old Jeff said, no, we're not doing that anymore.
I think they had a season where they found out where the crew was at and they went over and took food from the crew.
They did. Yeah. One of the.
Hey, look, let me tell you this time, they make sure that the crew is nowhere near us.
Jeff, after hearing that, had to be pissed.
Yeah, they're nowhere near us. And here's the thing about it is, we're all adults. I told them after I got voted out, I said, okay, before I pretty much listened to everything y'all had to say and I followed all the rules, I'm going to reinsert my own personality fully back into who I am. So, because I took a part, I kind of shut it down and was like, okay, y'all need us to do this? Okay, let's do that. Because we had to be places, we had to do stuff. And basically I won't say it was not a no talk back thing, but we kind of had to comply.
Yeah.
And most of the reason what people don't see is we as people didn't know what people as producers have to go through. We don't care about the lighting, which they got a certain amount of light they got to have to be able to shoot and all kind of stuff. We're kind of, lollygagging, doing what we normally do as livers. And we was like, what? Because we had to have a talk. They had to give us a little talk about that one day.
If you guys don't see us right now, while Abraham was talking, I am battling the hiccups. They just come on at the right time and everything. I don't know if you've seen Abraham, but I'm over here like listening and then trying to fight them off. That's what Mountain Dew will do to you, especially when you like down one right before the podcast.
Look, I'm like, I'll probably be hanging out. I got golfing in the morning, so that's about it.
I found that out. You're a golfer? Are you good at golf?
Yeah. Hey, let me tell you something, man. They wouldn't let me play in Fiji at all because of the pandemic.
They wouldn't let you go to a single golf course.
The golf courses on the resort that we were at, they was like, I said, hey, look, I'll go out by myself. That way you don't have to worry about anybody being out there. But it was like, no. I was trying to get in. I was trying to at least get in 18 holes one time, but they said no.
So you doing 18 holes tomorrow?
18 in the morning.
I tried getting into golf. I still have clubs, but I went out, bought clubs, shoes and everything. And I've never golfed in my life. And I'm like, being an actor and a model, I need to figure out how to do this so I can do charity events and stuff. So I went out to a golf course and I tried playing golf immediately without just going to the driving range. I kid you not. I was there with friends and we had 6 or 7 golf carts waiting on us, like at the course, because I would hit the ball. It would go like 5 feet and then I would walk and then hit it again. And I told the guys I was getting frustrated, and I'm like, we got to go. We've got people waiting. And my friends were just like, no, they can wait.
That's not how golf works. There's a whole thick book about golf etiquette. And so usually what you do with that is you say, hey, y'all go ahead and go through.
That's what
you let the golfers behind them go through.
The problem was it was such a nice day. I shouldn't have went straight out and golf. It was such a nice day. We would let like 3 or 4 people through, Abraham. Like before I hit my ball, we'd let people pass. And then we'd be like, okay, we got to hit our ball now. And I would hit my ball. And then next thing you know, we have 6, 7 more people behind us.
Yeah, we call y'all slow. We'd have called the marshal. There's a golf marshal that handles the flow of traffic on the golf course.
Yeah.
We'd have called the clubhouse and be like, hey, y'all need to get out here. Get there.
Yeah.
There's no reason why they should be out here.
I'm going to stick to mini golf or driving. That's my advice. Do not be like me. Never golf in your life and then go straight to an 18-hole course and expect to golf, because you will hold everyone up. I
usually golf on Saturday with about 20 other golfers.
Wow. So you have a group.
It's a group that goes out every Saturday. We play. I'm just taking a friend out for his birthday tomorrow, and we're going to play a round of golf and go to lunch.
Have you and Brad golfed yet together? I know you guys are good friends. Well, he doesn't golf at all.
No. Brad got guns. He
doesn't do that golf stuff. But
hey, you know what?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll see in June what we got going on and see if we can't catch everybody that comes out to the ranch and get them on your podcast.
Oh man, that would be incredible. Get Sydney out here, and Sydney's going to be at the ranch.
No, I don't know. No? Sydney does a lot of traveling. She is studying for her bar exam.
Oh,
so I'm not sure where and it's in June, so I don't know where she's going to be at.
Maybe we can eventually get a season 41 reunion here.
Look, if you can you get some of them, not all of them.
Yeah, I hear that, but we'll go ahead and wrap this up here. Thank you guys so much for joining us for the special merge episode. We had a lot to talk about. Hopefully we got through everything. If we missed something, we apologize. Abraham, my man, tell them where we can find you on social. Abraham here does something. He does a video every Wednesday night right after the episode airs where he tells his opinion. So where can they find you, Abraham?
Hey, you can catch me on a snippet recap of the episode on Abraham_99_99 on IG.
And you guys can catch his profile and mine as well, all in our Instagram bio here at the Survivor Now Podcast. It's just at Survivor Now Podcast. Or you can go to Twitter at Survivor Now Pod. Check out our YouTube where we've got some interviews and stuff over there. That's just Survivor Now Podcast as well. If you want to, go ahead and send us an email. We have an email set up now, survivornowpodcast@gmail.com, where you can contact us and let us know your questions or anything you want to ask us. Shout outs again to the podcast that invited us on this week, Speaking Llama. We did that on Tuesday, so go check out their channel. They do great work. And then Slaying the Dragon. We're making this awesome podcast community that's Speaking Llamas and Slaying the Dragon. You have Jack, Kate, and Scott for Slaying the Dragon, and then Alex and Caleb for Speaking Llama. They're all amazing people, so go check them out. Abraham, do you have anything else to say before we head on to next week's episode?
No, I'm looking forward to next week's episode. Enjoy Easter. Everybody have a happy Easter out there.
Is Easter this Sunday? Sometimes, is that this Sunday?
That'll be this Sunday, Randy.
Oh my gosh. That's how busy I've been. I knew it was coming up. Oh, yeah. Forgive me. It's late. That's the excuse I'm going to use. No, I just forgot it was Easter because that person's not hungry. They look hungry. So I'm going to choose them to come back on the tribe. And yeah.
Hey, look, I'm going to choose you. No Easter eggs for you.
That's the excuse. So thanks again, everybody. And enjoy the rest of your day.